Oh no. Hi everybody, welcome to Paranormal Zone TV. Thanks for joining us today on this Saturday evening. I bet most of you are probably out Christmas shopping. Anyway, for those who are joining us tonight, I want to thank you so much. And if anybody is new to the show, if you like what you see, if you would please subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Now, my guest tonight, and I'm so excited to have her, is Serenity Jenny. Her name is Jennifer Swartz Flack, and she goes by Serenity Jenny. Jen has a master's in education, national certified counselor. She is licensed professional counselor and registered massage therapist. She is an author. She is a psychic medium, ordained minister, and spiritual healer, and celestial shaman. She is the author of Unapologetically Authentic and CEO of Starborn Illuminate Publishing. Jennifer channels a special type of Hashi healing method, energy medicine channeled directly from the stars with the assistance of ascended masters and angels of the Most High, and the beings of light and galactic liaison for the counselors of 12. So let me see, with that everybody, let's bring Jen on. Hey Jen, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey Norene, it's good to be with you.
We are so excited to have you. I've done several shows on the Delphi murders, and this will be the first time that we're talking about the Jon Benet. It's a 27-year-old case. But I wanted to bring you on because of your abilities, and we're hoping that we can get more insight on both of these cases. So what I usually do, Jen, I will give the viewers a rundown on each case. So let's start with Jon Benet. And while I talk about the case, I have a carousel going with pictures. So let me go over and start that. Hold on, guys. Okay, so tonight the show is on a 27-year-old unsolved case of Jon Benet Ramsey. There are multiple theories, suspects, murder weapons, and pieces of evidence that lead nowhere in this case. Jon Benet Ramsey was first reported missing from her home in Boulder on the morning of December 26, 1996. Oh no. Oh, hold on, guys. Sorry, I got the wrong carousel. Hold on, sorry. Oh, God, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry, I got the wrong carousel. All right. No, stop that. Oh gosh, hold on guys. I'm really sorry this is happening. Let me see if I can get this to work. No, it's not working. Oh, of all times, I'm sorry, Jen. My carousel isn't working properly and it should be. Hold on. All right. I'm going to start with the Delphi murder case, and I won't have pictures then. All right, I'm going to start with the Delphi murder case. Jen, I don't know if I'll be giving you information too on this Delphi murder case because I know I haven't given you information on it. So let me go through this. All right, so we're going to start with the Delphi murder case. On February 13th, 2017, Abigail Williams, 13, and Liberty German, 14, are dropped off by a relative near the Monon High Bridge. The teens plan to take advantage of a nice day off from Delphi Middle School to go hiking near Monon High Bridge. On February 13th, 2017, Richard Allen is on the bridge, according to later interviews. Richard Allen would eventually tell the police he was on the trail from 1:30 to 3:30 on that day. February 13th, the girls are reported missing that evening. A relative went to pick them up and they were nowhere to be found. February 14th, the next day, their bodies were found. By Tuesday afternoon, the bodies of Abigail Williams and Liberty Germain are found in a wooded area along Deer Creek. February 15th, 2017, Abby and Libby are identified and a Snapchat video was released. The authorities confirmed the bodies were Abby and Libby, and they were investigating their deaths as a homicide. And the authorities released very few details on the crime. An FBI agent reveals in later documents that the pieces of clothing from one victim were missing, and it appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged. Later that same day, they had recovered Germain's cell phone, which they believed contained video of the suspected killer. A snapshot video apparently taken by Germain before her murder appeared to show a man wearing a brown hat, dark blue jacket approaching the girls on the bridge. February 18th, a memorial service was held for them. On February 22nd, 2017, they call this the downhill video. 1 week after the girls' bodies are identified, police release audio from Germain's cell phone. The public hears a man say "down the hill," which was made as an apparent command to the girls prior to their murder, and he is known as the bridge guy. July 17, 2017, the first suspect photo was released. Months after the death of Abby and Libby, authorities released the first suspect related to the case. It depicts a seemingly middle-aged man with a goatee, a shaggy hair poking out of a hat. The man was drawn wearing a jacket and hoodie similar to what was depicted in the grainy video taken from Libby Germain's Snapchat video. April 22nd, 2019, a second suspect photo and more audio was released. October 26, 2022, Richard Allen was arrested. Richard Allen, 50 years old, was arrested for the murders of the two girls. And he was taken to Carroll County Jail. October 28, 2022, formal charges were brought against him. September 20, 2023, Odism ritual sacrifice accusations. Allen's attorneys submit a filing outlining why they believe the girls were ritualistically sacrificed. Court documents claim that the crime scene where Williams and Germain's body were found had pagan symbols formed with sticks, tree branches, and markings on a tree, and I think that was the letter R on the tree. A large amount of blood was lost by the victims at the crime scene. Because of the nature of the victim's wound due to stabbing, it's nearly certain the suspect of the crime would have gotten blood on his clothing. Authorities also found that 2 articles of clothing. One of the girls was missing from the crime scene while the rest of their clothing was recovered. It also appeared that the girls' bodies were moved and staged. I have some pictures here, and they believe that it was, oh my God, it was realistic. It was a ritual murder. Let's see. Jen, I have some. Okay, so Jen, I have some questions about this. Okay, so what do you think the motive was?
So when I first hear this from you, I immediately start to get images in my mind. So I'm seeing in my mind what energetically is going on. So the man that's on the bridge already, to me, has an attachment. I can feel a heavy, dark energy, probably about 9 feet tall on the bridge as well. So that's the first thing that I'm feeling as soon as you're talking. With that, I actually think maybe he was contemplating killing himself at first. So, my mind goes to the energy of what's going on at that time, at that moment in time, at that point in time. So then I start, I use the pendulum, I'm remote viewing, I'm going back in time, and I have no knowledge about any of this stuff. I can feel the girl's fear, almost like as if he's approaching me. Like, and I'm feeling it in my body as an empath. So, and I feel like if there's two girls, I'm the one on the right. So I'm not sure which girl was on the right and one was on the left, but as he's approaching, I'm the one on the right. So I can feel and tell you what I'm seeing from that viewpoint, that vantage point. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. All right. Go ahead.
I can't see any of the pictures. I'm not sure if we didn't set this up right, but all I can see is like a picture of you, so I don't have any access to the pictures or anything. But I do feel like the motive in this was a pretty heavy and dark motive. Whether this man is aware or was aware at the time, I do believe there are elements of some kind of attachment that's motivating his behavior.
Did the girls know the man that was approaching them on the bridge?
I don't think that they had knowledge of who he was as a like any interaction with him before that moment in time. No.
Now they say that so I had described how the murders were committed. I did read last night for the first time that I found out that do you see the murder scene? Do you actually see the murder scene? Can you see that?
So I can tell you in my mind's eye that I can see a big tree. I actually can smell it. I smell a little bit of like what I would say would be like a diesel, like almost like a mechanic's garage smell. I smell that. I smell the woods. I can see that there's some brush or leaves around, but I feel like either one or both of them are leaning up against a tree, and this is the tree that I'm seeing. I also can see, or rather feel, the right side of my head, and I feel like I'm seeing things from one of the girls' perspectives, so the right side of my head feels either like I have a massive wound or I have a lot of intracranial pressure on that side, so I feel like she was hit. She had some sort of blunt force trauma there. It's heavy energy, and it's almost hard to process. I feel like I want to vomit. I feel like maybe it's the spirit's trying to help me understand at the moment of her passing what she was experiencing.
Okay.
And sometimes that gets a little overwhelming.
Now, I found out that they had released some information that I didn't know about this the last two shows that I had aired. They were stabbed. There was evidence of that, but I didn't know they slit their throats, is what I read.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly happened to this area, but I almost feel like my head wants to fall off. It's so heavy. So, I mean, that is wherever on the right side, wherever the wound correlates, I would say that's one of the massive wound areas for one of the children over there.
Okay, do you feel that this was, now they're saying that this was a ritual killing, and it was done by a group, a pagan group, Odin. Do you feel that it was a ritual killing?
So I feel like sometimes people were possessed by entities, and I do believe that this man, this human, did have an attachment within his energy field, because I can see it. So I would agree with that as far as there is an entity involved, whether they summoned or conjured it. I mean, I would have to read more into that to see where it came from, but yes, I believe this is a ritualistic killing. It's sacrificial in nature. And
why would they sacrifice these girls?
Children 12 to 15, at least in my experience and opinion, are extremely, they're pure a lot of times. They're virgins. There's certain demographics that they go after with these satanic groups. Children often get attachments and or possessions at this time too, because they are so fragile and so vulnerable. But a lot of times these children are also very, very psychic and very connected. So the higher level of the connection of the child, or the vibration, so to speak, is more of like a trophy to them. Like these children are pure blood children that are innocent, maybe virgins, and would carry a lot of energetic weight, so to speak. Which is unfortunate, but a lot of times children are targeted for that reason.
This Richard Allen, he had told, I believe, his wife that he did kill these girls, but they believe that there's more than one suspect. In fact, they have 3 sketches of suspects, but only Richard Allen is saying that he killed them. But now he's saying it was a group, this Odin group that had actually killed her, not him. So could this group, this pagan group, have been involved? He might have. I don't know what part he took in this killing of the girls, but do you see more than just Richard Allen involved in these murders?
I do feel like there are other humans involved and urging him on to do things. I at least see 4 of them. But what we have to keep in mind, even mentally and as a clinician, there's a lot of times I have to rule out mental health issues. But in this case, this man having this attachment, when you're possessed by an entity, a lot of times they identify themselves as legion. So legion meaning more than one spirit entity in that man's body at the time of the murders. So, you know, there are other cases like this that have been documented, very notable cases, but I do feel like he was possessed by more than one entity. One entity I specifically can see, it's about 9 feet tall, and it is very dark. I don't have a name for it, but it is extremely demonic.
Are you saying this entity was inside of Richard Allen?
Yes. At the time of the murders, yes. I would unequivocally say that is my feeling. At the time of the murders, he was possessed by an entity. And I believe that he literally couldn't differentiate between reality and his possession and the energy world a lot of the times. I do believe he probably looked like he was mentally unstable and probably has had some sort of issue in the past with being accused of being very reactionary or emotional and having outbreaks often.
When this man that was on the bridge, and they have evidence because they have the video, he told the girls to go down the hill. So when they went down the hill and they turned toward the river, do you see anybody else waiting there for these girls?
From my perspective, I can see a tree, I can see the river. It almost looks like it's off, like I can see it past the tree from like where the bodies were found. I do feel like there are not people but energy, I feel, over here on this side behind him. So I don't think there was other humans there with him at the time they went down the hill.
All right, so these girls were taken somewhere to be murdered because they don't believe that where they found the girls at the scene, they found the scene.
Please charge battery.
This is really not a good day today.
I'm telling you.
I'm telling you.
Listen, I will tell you in your defense, Norene, too, there's a lot of times either on investigations, in the field, even in my office, like I couldn't even wear a watch I didn't realize it was probably about 6 years I was shattering watch faces. I actually, my EMF, my energy field's so high it affects electronic devices, so I apologize if it's me.
No, my phone, I took my phone off, but it's telling me it's low. I have to completely take it out of the room. What a day. I mean, there's something going on here. All right, let me go over there and disconnect the phone. Let me, hold on for 1 second. Hold on. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on today. It's a really strange day for everything going on. Maybe I wasn't supposed to do this show. Maybe we're not supposed to know.
You know, sometimes that does happen to us, for sure.
All right, let me get this out of here. Okay, I'm back. Um, so the guy gets the girls, they go down the hill. You don't see any other human with him, and those girls are listening to him. Where does he take them from there? Where does he actually commit the murders?
I don't think that it was very far away from there at all. I do see an unmarked, blacked out window, white to cream colored. I wouldn't say it's white. It's either dingy white or it's cream colored. It's a van. I'm not sure. I can't see the license plate. I'm trying to see that, but I think that's waiting there. I think he's already. I do think he either wanted to take his life or wanted to take somebody else's life prior to this as well. I keep getting that overwhelming feeling, or he did it before, which is a little disturbing.
So,
But the more I get into his energy field, and he's still alive, yes?
Richard Allen, oh yeah, he's they moved him. He was in the Carroll County Jail, and evidence was leaked, and there's all kinds of things going on with this case. So they moved him to another location.
I'm gonna protect both of us too, because as I'm in his energy field, I feel like he knows I'm in there. So, as a spiritualist minister and as a Reiki practitioner and as somebody who's morally obligated, I'm just gonna protect us. I'm gonna do a little protection prayer real quick, just to make sure that we're good energetically and we don't get any blowback from any energy that's in his energy field. So, and you don't consent to that, and I don't consent to that. So I just want to make sure we're good. But I do feel like he's very aware. I should say it is very aware. He, as a human, probably is not as much aware as the energy is aware of us being in his energy field as well. He still has that attachment, has not left him, and he's not gotten any treatment for that. He's probably being treated mentally with psychiatric drugs at this point too. And I'm telling you, my whole right side of my face, my ear, and it probably is really red too. But I literally feel like this young lady too is trying to help me hear her and understand her. And as they're going down the hill, I don't know why, but I feel like the one on the left threw something out of her pocket on purpose to leave clues. It's a wrapper of some sort of paper. So I don't know if that's documented that they found that, but I can see that happening too.
Okay, so, and then you see a van. Was that his van or somebody else driving the van?
I do not think it was his van. I do think there was someone at that point. This looks like a yucky road, like a very unused or unkept road that goes off to the right of where I'm standing. So, and this is kind of steep. This embankment's a little steep.
The embankment they went down was kind of steep. And then when they turned, they went, I guess, along the banks of the river. Okay. But the person in the van had nothing to do. Did he help this person? Did they help Richard Allen with these murders?
I don't think that this man understood at first. I think he thought he was giving him a ride for something or help him move something. This wasn't as rehearsed as one would think it would be. It kind of spontaneously occurred. It really just unfolded right then and there. And these children were really just, it hurts me to even feel like what they felt. At some point I can feel them getting like the impact of the puncture wounds too. Like, so it's a little disturbing because everybody wants to talk at one time energetically and show you what happened, right? So as soon as I enter into their energy field, that's what happens.
All right, another question. This was a day off from school. The girls decided to go over this bridge. And then all of a sudden, this man shows up. This bridge is horrific. It is so dangerous. And he comes across that bridge. how was this set up? I mean, how did he know those girls were going to be there? And how there's no way he could have seen them. The bridge is really long. He couldn't have seen them from the other side of the bridge. How did this happen?
This is an opportunistic killing, I would think. But he was looking for somebody. They were looking. He has, in my opinion, an entity attached to him, wanting him to either sacrifice himself, sacrifice anybody really that he gets in his energy field. He literally, this is an embodiment of evil here we're talking about, and this is the right time, the right place, and these poor kids, I don't think they had a chance.
But how did he know they were there?
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. It was an opportunistic thing. Like, this all just happened to unfold. And this guy that left him, I don't know how long this bridge is, but it looks like this part where they're at is almost like quarter of the way, midway, maybe not quite midway. And they either had to cross over something to get down over that bank, and he's coercing them, like telling them that he's going to hurt them. But he had that person parked before then. I don't know how he saw them or knew that, but it was like, oh, look, they're there, so we're going to take them. And when I say they, like, in his mind, he can't separate that entity from his own thoughts. That is his thoughts. And I don't think he makes good decisions primarily as a human anyhow. I do think that he's had this entity possessing him for quite some time. Like I said, I think he's had behaviors and eruptions prior to this as well.
There was some talk that the girls were murdered in a barn or something, and then they were moved to the location where they were found in the woods. Do you see that? Can you see the location that they were killed in? Or?
I feel like whoever the one that was on the right definitely got blunt force trauma to the head prior to her actual death. I don't know whether her head was hit off the van or the ground, or if she was just struck repeatedly, but that is definite. And I also feel, I do feel there's a stab or a puncture in this area too, because it's on fire on me. It's almost like I could trace it with my finger. I think that might have actually caused that bleed. It almost makes me feel like a bleed in her eye or in her head would have been her cause of death first, and then they stabbed her after that. And I do feel like where I'm seeing that tree, I want to say something else happened to somebody else there as well before them. Like, this has been a couple times. The word PowerPoint is coming into my head. Like, somebody's using this as almost like a witchcraft PowerPoint. And this has happened before. Vortex points, ley lines, things like that intersect often get utilized for these not so good things sometimes. So that does occur.
When they found Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Jen. What do you want to say? I'm sorry.
I just feel like, too, that one is unconscious, one is conscious at the arrival of the location where they both departed. So this little girl, the one little girl she was out. She was out. The other one was awake. She was conscious. The other one was not. So one knew what was happening to her, and the other one did not.
Okay, so when they found the bodies that they were staged in the part of the woods where they were found, I believe her cell phone was found there too. Now, the police have evidence, but they're not releasing it, so there's a lot we still don't know about this case. There were leaked photos, and I had showed them in the carousel. They found shoes. One of the girls' underpants were missing. Were they sexually abused?
I do believe at least one of them was sexually assaulted, yes. I don't want to say she was alive. She was alive. She was not conscious. Let's say that. She was not conscious when this happened.
Now, when they found the bodies that were staged, they were staged in a sexual manner. and they had sticks on them, which when they do the satanic rituals, they use sticks for some reason. This Odin, I guess, does anyway. What was the purpose of that? To put the sticks on the body?
It feels like it's some sort of almost like a ritualistic sacrificial marking in some way, like this is what I did, this is for you. Again, I really feel like this man's entity that possessed him, whether it was conjured into him or not, really was more in charge of this. I know that there have been times where we know that people are possessed by entities and they do these things and they don't even have any recall about it. But I do think he does remember doing it. And took pleasure in pleasing this entity, so to speak, which is, it sounds disgusting, I know, but that a lot of times is what these people do. They are sacrificing to a greater source, quote unquote, whatever that is to them. They see that to be powerful or give them power. It really feels like he was extremely indebted in nature to him. He just felt like he wanted to please this entity, and I actually feel like it's one that we've seen before with child sacrifice.
Now the police have three sketches. One is Richard Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where the other sketches came from, unless there were some kind of eyewitnesses that placed them in the area when the girls were there. Do you know how they came up with those other two suspects?
Well, one makes me feel like it might be somebody seeking a little bit more attention, which that does happen in cases like this. People come forward and say, I saw something, and try to throw them off intentionally. One feels like that. The other one doesn't feel like that. The other one feels like it's accurate. That may be the person that drove that van. And I do feel very strongly that there was a vehicle that transported them. And I'm not sure if this is his vehicle or, like I said, or somebody else's, but I feel very intensely too that this little girl's showing me that one was awake and one was not awake when the sexual assault was occurring, and he took pleasure in that, almost like a performance, which is sad. Now, I'm no artist, but I do scribble a lot of times because I try to get out what's in my head, and I didn't immediately start doing that, but I feel like you know, these are very rough sketches, but like the van that I saw, it's kind of dingy white, and then I could see that tree and how they're positioned, and like a lot of times what happens is I'm just getting screenshots in my mind, feelings that go along with screenshots. Those last visions that those girls had, I can actually feel him in response to me reading his energy too, which is not a pleasurable thing because he is still alive. I felt like he was alive, but I just wanted to confirm that because he knows, or it knows, I'm in its energy field.
He had a gun, and he didn't use it, but they did find some bullets. I believe they were by the body. What happened? Why didn't he use his gun?
I feel like he already had killed them. I felt like he wanted to make sure they were dead. Like that was his goal. And I feel like he didn't realize they were, and he was like, oh, well, they're already dead. I'm done. Like, I'm done here. Which is, would have been overkill, no pun intended, but if he would have shot them in addition to already doing what he did to them. One is the little girl that was stabbed, the one on the left, showing me that I don't know, she did eventually bleed out. The other girl had blunt force trauma to her head. I believe she was out before she was stabbed. They both were stabbed. One feels like she was stabbed more than the other one, though. So I think she fought back more, and she was conscious during all of it until right at the end. And there was a stab wound to the heart, I believe, or the chest area that ended her life.
Yeah, they said that there were multiple stab wounds, and there was blood everywhere. Now the thing is, if they were killed, they were saying they were killed elsewhere, but they were transported to the woods and staged. Well, if there was blood everywhere, how could they have been killed somewhere else when they found the girls? It was all kinds of blood. That doesn't make sense.
I have one thought. I think the one little girl was in fact killed somewhere else, because I feel like her body is going to be in a different state. I think that's why she was showing me she had such blunt force trauma to her head. I think that will be released eventually. This side of her head, that bleed in their brain probably was the cause of death, and then he obviously did what he did to their bodies. Post-mortem, this little girl's probably post-mortem. The other little girl fought on the scene. I don't know. I mean, he stabbed both of them because he wanted to make sure that the one was dead. I feel like that state of that body, probably she expired prior to getting to that current location where they were staged. So it's almost like you got two different kinds of murders in a way of speaking. Does that make sense?
Was this planned out, or is just a convenient? The girls were there.
Well, I think the victims could have been, they were wrong place, wrong time kids, right? They were looking for a quote unquote type, a specific type. I don't know if these girls specifically were targeted. They just wanted pure, young, very appealing to the entity, sacrificial children. And these little girls happen to be it, unfortunately.
Yeah, the tree, there was a tree nearby, and I thought it was an R, but it was an F that was planted, that was in blood on the tree. What was the F for?
So, so as you're telling me that, in my mind, I feel like that's a rune. That seems to make sense too for what you're saying, like for Odin. Like, a lot of times, like, people that believe, like, pagans that worship the earth, not pagans that are satanic, are going to say and do things for those entities. But if a satanic, a demonic spirit hijacks that, they will then be in service to that satanic spirit, which is, I think, what happened. And in the name of Odin, right, which Odin, obviously, Viking god, Norse mythology, but you have a demonic spirit who's literally acting in place of that Norse god, telling whatever this guy's name is to go do this in service to me, when in all actuality it's for Satanism. It's for Satan. So that F is probably a rune. I actually don't know what it means. I can see it in my head. It almost looks like I'll draw it for you. It almost looks like the points go up in nature, not like a regular F that we would see. Like a regular F would be like this, but it would be like more runic. So I would say, again, some sort of sacrificial reward to mark that killing for that entity.
Wow. Okay.
And a lot of times too, like, you know, there's people that have been in the news, that have been in different cases, you know, that God made them do this, or God told them this directive. That's not God, and they don't have any discernment, so they can't tell what entity is telling them to do this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said, yeah, it does look like a rune, and I think you're right on that. Let's see, can I ask the viewers if they have any questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, does anybody have any questions that I can give to Jenny? I know this is, I had her on because I had so many questions myself, because I just don't understand what's going on with this case. They just can't seem to solve it. And what I thought was, because I thought there were other people involved that were extremely dangerous, and that this Richard Allen, why he came forward now saying that he didn't do it, that it was a ritual killing, I guess trying to get it off of him. But I thought that maybe there was other people that were extremely dangerous and that he feared uh, for his family's life, that if he talked, that something drastically would happen to his family. That's what I thought. Let me see. Anybody have any questions before we move on to Jon Benet? It's a delay, you know. So.
It's okay.
Anybody have any questions for Jen before we move on to Jon Benet case? Okay, any questions? Well, let's see. There's a heart in the way. It starts with you is asking, are they with God since they were sacrificed? Are the girls with God since they were sacrificed?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. These children's spirits, they want justice, but at the point of illumination, when the spirit comes out of the body, the soul comes out of the body, there is a reunification process, right? These children want justice, obviously. A lot of times there's soul contracts too, so we have to be able to differentiate between whether this is a soul contract or this is a tragic exit point on a soul path and timeline. So after you differentiate that, you can see where the children how their trajectory goes. So a good movie kind of to illustrate this, to understand the soul trajectory, is Astral City. It's on Prime. It's a great depiction of how the soul traverses the planes after the point of expiration. But the girls definitely are in heaven. They've reintegrated, but they are allowed to enter into different, I call them, they're like layers of a layer cake, right? So I see heaven from like hell would be dark gray, and it's here on this earth plane. We can have heaven or we can have hell here. We choose that. And they go up in nature, to me, by color, and it lightens up from dark gray to light gray to like a dingy white to a gleaming white, which would be God's level. So we know about multidimensional reality. You know, string theorists have proven this to be true. Astro theorists have proven this to be true. So when I see this cross-sectional view, I try to take that on kind of like a continuum of how a soul wants to vibrate and where they're going to be stationed at. And it's kind of difficult to explain sometimes, but those souls have already reintegrated, but they are literally trying to still seek justice as far as their family's concerned. Sometimes souls get confused too when they leave the body through a murder or some kind of tragic passing, and they'll stay stuck to the point where they expired. And a lot of times we have to liberate that soul if it doesn't know what to do, or if it was outside of the soul contract. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm. So Sarah Claire is asking, but now you did say that this Richard Allen committed other murders. You believe?
I feel like this isn't the first for him. I feel like this is not. And he's actually had 3 times that I can see in his mind he wanted to take his own life as well. So I don't think he's been mentally stable for a very long time.
Yeah, Sarah Claire wanted to know, is this case linked to any other cases in and around Delphi? Would he have committed these murders in the Delphi area?
If there's other murder, okay, part 1 of that question, I believe there's 2 other crimes he committed. I don't know if there are specific murders that he committed himself, 2 crimes that he's committed for sure that I can see. One might be a sexual assault or forcing himself onto somebody in some manner or fashion. And one is more like child pornography type crime. This is not his first rodeo as far as like almost getting to the point where he could kill somebody, but I don't see a physical act where he killed somebody. He's probably rehearsed it many times though. And in the Delphi area, I believe there's probably
Would they have been?
there's a lot of missing kids in that area, I feel like. I don't know that, Norene, you'd have to research that to see, but I feel like there are a lot of missing children.
Yeah, there was another question, but I can't. They were asking about, I can't find it now. So, she was asking about, can you explain again? I just lost it. Can you explain again why you think that the bridge guy decided to take their lives? Oh, you already answered that. She wants to know, I guess they didn't. It's a coming shame. I wanted to know that. She asked that question. But I think
absolutely a shame that he chose to do that, but I thought I answered that. Do you want me to go back into that?
Yeah, just one more time.
So opportunistic killings when an entity is present. So basically think about this as you have a dark spirit, a satanic spirit, and a voice that is literally play-by-play your whole life. And when he sees these two girls, this matches and fits what he wants to achieve to sacrifice to this entity, whether it's conjured or not, by him. That's what he needs to do. And he literally feels like that's a good thing to do. So in his mind, that opportunity is a good opportunity to take, and he's doing this. And he's taking them. And this is going to be the day that he does this. So these kids were kind of sitting ducks because he had already made his mind. As soon as he saw them, that is what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and I want to
parameter.
I want to correct what I said earlier, because I in my mind's eye I can remember showing 3 sketches on to the viewers when we did a show, but actually one was Richard Allen and the other 2 were sketches. So I take back what I said. It wasn't 3. All right. Well, okay, that's very interesting. I'm curious now because somebody wanted to know, do you think any law enforcement officers could have been involved? Or do you think there's a conspiracy going on here?
I just got a yes when I asked if there was a conspiracy going on, so I'm going to say yes. I don't know if all the truth is being released. Do I feel like it's a police officer? I do not feel like it's a police officer at this moment, but I do feel like there may have been some sort of, I want to say a black mark on the department, like an eye, like punch in the eye, like maybe somebody didn't do something right, so not all the information's correct. So yes, there's some sort of slight cover up in that area. I don't know if it's going to make a lot of difference, so to speak, but somebody dropped the ball somewhere and nobody wants to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can move on to, I don't know if I can get that. Let me see if I can get this back going. I don't know what happened. We're gonna do the Jon Benet. Let me see if I can get this going here.
Why do you see if you can get that going? I'm gonna tell the viewers something because I told Dave this earlier today. I think I was like 20. So, you know, I really didn't come out of the closet as a psychic medium. I was working in law enforcement when I was 20. I worked in a police department. I was a dispatcher there. I was a 911 dispatcher. I worked fire, police, and EMS desks. I worked on the ambulance. This has been my life, but I really didn't come out as a psychic medium. And I talked a lot about that on the last show with you, Norene. But this wasn't my, job. I was just like a good luck charm on shifts because either, really bad stuff happened when I was there or nothing at all happened. So a lot of times my officer in charge would be like, oh, you're a good luck charm. So when I was 20, I think you said a little bit ago, it was 27 years ago. I was 20. So I was really worried about probably boyfriends and my job and my goals and not really doing anything psychic. So I really don't remember too much other than this little pretty beauty queen coming up missing. So when I was just kind of meditating before I got on the show with you to even get my head in the right space to read this, because it's going to be interesting to me too, because I'm not sure what I'm going to get.
Okay. All right, I think I can get the carousel going. Okay, let's see if it's going to work. Yeah, it's working. All right. So this is a 27-year-old unsolved case of Jon Benet Ramsey. Okay, there are multiple theories, suspects, murder weapons, and pieces of evidence that lead to nowhere. Jon Benet Ramsey was first reported missing from her home in Boulder on the morning of December 26, 1996. Patsy Ramsey said she found a 3-page ransom note demanding $118,000 for the child's safe return on the bottom steps of a spiral staircase on the ground floor of the family's Boulder home. Later that day, the child's body was found in the basement by her father. She was wrapped in a blanket with duct tape over her mouth and a garrote tied around her neck with a paintbrush that had been used for leverage. She had multiple abrasions to her neck, cheek, legs, and other body parts, and she was hit in the head with an unidentifiable object. The coroner also found strange marks on Jon Benet's body that looked like marks from a taser. There is a theory that Jon Benet attacker stunned her to subdue her. The autopsy revealed that the cause of her death as strangulation and that Jon Benet may have been sexually abused long term. A broken window was how police believed the kidnappers gained entry to the property. A suitcase was positioned under the window, which was thought to have helped the intruders get back out of the window. A broken window is how police believe the kidnappers gained entry to the property. Jon Ramsey has maintained that he and his wife Patsy are innocent, but for years the couple were considered under the umbrella of suspicion. Patsy Ramsey died in 2006 of ovarian cancer at the age of 49. All right, so I have questions for you. Was there any sexual abuse going on in the home?
Yes, absolutely. Already heard it in my head before you were even done reading. Ongoing. Is there a brother? Do we know if there's a brother?
Yes, Burke.
Okay. I believe there's multiple things going on, but I believe the brother is involved in this.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I believe that. So I scribble while you talk. I scribble, right? So I'm scribbling, and I was drawing before you mentioned the basement, and I feel like maybe I knew that was a case detail a long time ago. But I feel like I can see like a almost like one of those slatted doors, like a closet door, like the bifold doors. It's like slatted. I feel like it's a slatted door. She's behind a slatted door. You have questions for me, but I'm just going to tell you what I felt before you asked me the questions. I feel like there was extreme panic. I also feel like there's more of a cover up here, familially, than it just is one person. I feel like there's extensive knowledge by multiple people. But it's the bottom right-hand side of the house, so I don't know if there's ever any diagrams that were out there, but the bottom right-hand side is where I'm looking at, is where I feel like her body was. And I also feel like the torture that happened, again, had to be by a family member. It makes me feel like it was happening underneath the house for a long time.
Okay, what do you mean underneath the house for a long time? What underneath?
So like secrets kept under the house, like, you know, they want to keep secrets on stuff. So this abuse was not a one and done type thing. This has had gone on for a while. So if it came out that she was sexually abused for a while, that makes sense to me, because I feel like this was a cover up.
Oh. Who was involved in the sexual abuse? The father and the son, or just Burke?
Dad,
both of them?
Mm-hmm. And I think he may have abused his son as well. I don't know how old the son was compared to Jon Benet, but I believe he was older than her.
Yeah.
That would have happened to him too.
I think he was 12. So
yeah, it makes me feel like it happened to him on multiple occasions as well.
What about the mother? You know, I remember when this happened, and I remember them because it was horrific, and I remember seeing them interviewed on television, the both of them. and I just thought something was really strange. They showed absolutely no emotion. Patsy talked about her daughter like as an object, and neither one of them had tears in their eyes. What the heck is that all about?
A lot of times a lack of empathy is an indication of a sociopathic person, right? So I wouldn't say that's Patsy. I'd say she's more traumatized. Let me just tell you about what I know about energy and how it affects the body. I'm going to give you my mom as an example. We had a hell of a history in my family growing up too. This is why I do what I do. I'm a therapist and I help people because I too have had a history of trauma. But my mom kept a secret from our family to pancreatic cancer, right? So cancer, in my opinion, is energy that is not addressed, or maybe like a secret kept, right? So Patsy's died from ovarian cancer. Ovaries are a lot of times, and you can look Louise Hay's information up about this too. She talks about how cancer affects the body, unexpressed trauma, and events can actually cause cancers in certain areas of the body. That's from Hay House Publications. But her having ovarian cancer, there's probably either a sexual dysfunction or a sexual trauma or some area of trauma in that reproductive organ area. And a lot of time women will manifest those traumas through either breast cancer or reproductive area cancers. It's just very interesting how that kind of lines up. It's very, very interesting to me that she passed with that kind of cancer.
I remember seeing her on an interview, and she was dying. She was stage 4 cancer, and when she did this interview, she was dying, but you would have never known it. She talked normal. She had no emotions whatsoever, nothing. You didn't know it, that she was actually dying when she did that interview. I've never seen anything like it.
When people have soul loss too because of extreme trauma, like when we say dissociation psychologically, that's one thing. That's the psyche splitting and fracturing, right? But energetic dissociation is when the soul is actually going to leave the body to deal with the trauma. Like it leaves completely, and a lot of times will re-enter after the trauma is complete, right? So if there's ongoing trauma, the soul never comes back in. So I'm sure all the viewers probably have seen somebody like this. They're like blank. They're just blank. That means a lot of times there's no soul. There's no energy in that body. It's displaced or it's fragmented. And a lot of times we see when people have blunt force trauma that happens, they have extreme trauma, physical trauma in their, or emotional trauma, sexual trauma, abuse trauma, and or anesthesia is also another way the soul will leave the body. So sometimes when people know they have a flat affect, that's what we call it psychologically, there's literally no soul in there. So when we measure them on a soul level, they're registering at a 0, which, I could check before her time of death to see if there's any soul in her body. She's a 0.
All right. Did Patsy Ramsey, did she love her daughter, or was she just an object?
I feel like she loved her daughter. I don't feel like it was in the exact same way you and I would love a child. I do believe there was a fracturing of this woman prior to her even having any children, even her older son. I don't know if she had a very good childhood, to be honest with you. She feels like she was fractured prior to probably 20. So on a soul level, we can go back and look and see trauma-wise how much soul's in her body. So she wasn't dealing with 100% anyhow. And I actually feel like she lived vicariously a lot through her child.
I think Patsy Ramsey also was a pageant. She was in pageants.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So wherever she probably not fell short but stopped, or however she perceived that child would vicariously take that place for her, kind of getting her own needs met.
Yeah, I'm not quite. They had a daughter that died. She got killed in a car accident, and I don't know if it was Patsy or maybe it was the other daughter. She was trying to get involved in pageants, but one of them was involved in pageants. No, okay. So if Patsy Ramsey did anything wrong, then Jon Ramsey, the husband, would have covered up for her.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what I thought. Who wrote the ransom note? They think that Patsy wrote the ransom note. The amount of money, the $118,000, was the exact figure that was going to be paid to Jon Ramsey. Now, who else would have known that?
Right. That's a very odd number too. It's really odd to be very specific like that. I also feel like this woman, I feel like she knows about a lot of stuff that's going on in her household, or found out about a lot of stuff that went on in her household, and she couldn't deal anyhow, right? I feel like she was a very fractured soul to begin with, and she's not operating with full deck mentally, emotionally, even physically. And when this happens, I believe that I do feel like Jon Benet was blamed for this, like this sexual abuse. Like she's picture this, like she's put on a platform, a pedestal, so to speak, to be a beauty queen, but in this sick way, she's attracting this sexual abuse attention. She's not attracting that. That sickness was already there, but she's blamed for it, I believe, in her mother's eyes.
So, who do you think wrote? Who wrote the ransom note? Was that a cover up for someone?
Absolutely, it was.
Who?
I don't think anybody outside that home broke into that home.
Well,
at all. I don't think any person outside of this family was involved at all. Period.
So you believe she wrote the ransom note, because that's what they do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the thing is, the way she was killed, the garrote, a certain person would have to know how to do that kind of tie. Who in the family would have known how to do it?
I don't know what kind of knot this is, or what. I don't know anything about the tie. Okay, but if I was a Boy Scout, say, I don't know if he was a Boy Scout, it's the little boy or the dad. If I was a Boy Scout, I could tell you that knot probably is taught to Boy Scouts. That's my gut feeling right now. So whoever was a Boy Scout, whoever had the Boy Scout training knows how to tie that knot.
Oh, I never thought about that. They said it had to have been, oh God, I can't remember this. I should have checked that out. It had something to do with maybe a sailor or something like that knew how to do this kind of a tie. Well, that makes, but the thing about it is, the boy could have been in Boy Scouts, but how could he have done this? How could he have pulled that off?
So I don't think, first of all, these kids are being watched. Second of all, they probably more are like objects, like, the Ozzie and Harriet family, like, here's our kids. She's not already wrapped real tight. Like, I don't know when that loss of the daughter was. I feel like it was before Jon Benet's death. And I feel like she's already a fractured soul. So she's half there. There's sexual abuse going on in this family. You have all these dynamics going on that is, like, extremely, like it's tense in the house. So everybody's doing their own thing. I feel like this happened. He's torturing her in the basement. And he accidentally killed her. He killed her.
Who was torturing her?
I feel like the brother is torturing the sister in the basement.
Okay.
On the right-hand side of the basement.
Okay, so yeah, he was 13. He was torturing her?
Here's why, though. I believe he also is abused. I believe this is systemic abuse. I believe this man is probably, the dad probably has a lot of guilt in the area of abusing the son and also the daughter.
They believe that the marks on her body were like a taser gun to control her, to kind of, you know what they do. It kind of like paralyzes you.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did they have to use that gun to control her so they could do whatever?
And this is how I see this, okay? So mom and dad are upstairs in the living room. They're downstairs in the basement. She makes noise or is acting out and not compliant. So he's paralytic. I mean, she's going to be more compliant when she's paralytic, right? Like, she can't move. She can't scream. She can't. And if he tases her in her vocal cord region, I mean, she's not going to be able to say anything. The muscles are going to be paralyzed for a certain amount of time. It's kind of horrific now that I'm actually into the energy and reading it. It's very sad. It's very sad.
Bruce, no, I read that he was 13 on the information that I had got, not 9. But you may be right. I don't know. That's the information I got. Oh.
So the juvenile sex offenders too. I've treated juvenile sex offenders, and I've been around them. Unfortunately, that's a really rough population to work with, and little children usually just propagate what has been done to them. So cyclical abuse. I mean, that to me that makes sense. In a household that sexual abuse is going on, it's going to be cyclical in nature. So does this little boy have 13 or 9? Doesn't really matter. Is it his thoughts, or if he's just replicating behavior that was done to him? And developmentally, we're going to get some stagnation from his development as a little boy too, because he's not going to be able to grow up and mentally mature, emotionally mature, because he was abused as well. A lot of times we'll see people heal from those times when they admit the abuse and they start to heal, and they actually will act from that age as they heal. It's very interesting.
Well, there was a piece of wood that was used to tighten the knot around her neck. Obviously, there was no fingerprints because they must have used gloves, because they didn't talk about fingerprints, finding any fingerprints that I found on that piece of wood. Now the suitcase was placed underneath the window, and the window was opened. I have a picture of that. So that was all staged, showing that, oh, somebody broke in and they, okay. Now the police, this is what the police suggested. They said that whoever this person was going to take her out of the house. They said there was some evidence to suggest that he did perhaps try to put her in a suitcase. And then perhaps he couldn't get her in the suitcase and he just fled from the window.
I don't feel like that. I feel like this was all in home. It was all in home. I just don't feel like there was any, like, when I'm reading the energy, like, there's no escape of energy from the house. There's nobody in, nobody out. So whose energy is in there? That only leaves the people from the house.
Yeah, they said whoever this was knew the layout of the house.
Just because they lived there.
Wow.
That's what I feel. That's my personal feeling.
Well, that's the first I've ever heard. Nobody's ever speculated that. They were under suspicion for a long time, and then they said they found new evidence and they took them off the suspicion list. I don't know.
See who the Boy Scout was. That's going to be your big clue. Who was the Boy Scouts? Who studied in Boy Scouts? That's exactly what I saw when I saw that knot. I saw the Boy Scout emblem. I can see it in my head.
Wow. Okay, well, I mean, everything you're saying makes sense. I don't know. Does anybody know if the boy was involved? Of course, I wouldn't know that. I didn't even see anything. We could try and find out if the boy was involved in Boy Scouts, but if he was 12 or 13, or actually 13, he might have been, because that would be the age group. Oh, wow. Huh, that's very interesting. Wow. Are you picking up anything else from this case at all? Are you able to, with your abilities, do you ever get messages from the other side, like maybe from Jon Benet, if she had any message?
I feel like it's Patsy that I'm connecting with, to be honest with you. I feel like it's not Jon Benet. I feel like it's Patsy, and I feel like she's super remorseful. I feel like she does feel things. I do feel like she's healing, or has healed since then, and is continuing to heal. I do feel like she's reunited with her daughter. She's forgiven her. There's a lot of things that I feel dynamic-wise that there's the other daughter. I started talking about her and getting her energy. She's almost like bringing her over to me too. She has long brown hair. She doesn't look like Jon Benet. I don't feel like at all. Looks very different characteristically speaking, but I do feel like they're all reunited. And when we talk about soul contracts and different things that happen when people are murdered and things like this happen, we do reunite on the other side a lot of times. Even with the murderers, I know it sounds really crazy, or the abusers, but we reconcile different things on different levels. And with metaphysics, we understand this very much so, because I wouldn't make the decisions I made if I didn't have abuse in my history. Do you see what I mean? Like, those things actually alter our trajectory in life. So yes, they do reunite. Yes, they forgive each other. Sometimes they don't. That doesn't always happen, but this time it has. And I feel like somebody on this planet is working on channeling a book about them. That's a medium. Somebody's been working with their spirits pretty heavily. I'm not sure if that's a known thing or I'm just seeing that, but I feel like they are working very specifically with somebody and giving them detail by detail by detail by detail. I would like to see when that comes out what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. Sarah Claire, you mentioned how did they know the person that wrote the note knew about the 118,000? Well, Jen said that it was most likely Patsy that wrote the note because she knew about it. Okay, wow, that's crazy.
That's too specific to not. I mean, we could go. I mean, I know we're after time already.
Oh no, I have all night, honey. Keep going.
You literally could break this down play by play by play, and you could be here for months and months and months just trying to read all these different aspects. But we just took like a swath of this, right? Like, here's the case. What are you feeling? And that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm entering into the energy. I try to enter into the remote view of the home. I douse. I empathically feel it. It's claircognizance. It's mediumship. It's clairsentience. It's clairaudience. It's all of those abilities at once that I'm utilizing to gain access and information. I mean, sometimes, like when I'm working with a department or a police chief or a detective or anything, I give them what I feel at the time of death. I give them what I feel before death. I give them the information I feel from the spirit. I mean, it's all these different like aspects, that they get me to read. So it's multiple like energy, like interpretations, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's great.
Because a lot of times, especially if we do a body recovery or a rescue or there's a missing child, I check to see the last time there was breath in the body. I check to see, if there's blood pumping through the body. I check to see. I'm asking questions real time. And then a lot of times I don't even have to go on location. I can just like visualize it and then say, okay, is there a green tarp there? And if there's a green tarp there, I would look in that area. And if there's evidence there, or it might not be the body, it might be a piece of evidence. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Are you picking up anything else of the case that we missed?
So it's a woman I believe they're working with, and her name starts with an A. I want to say it's Anna, but it starts with an A. I can say A for sure, but I do feel like it's Anna. So when it comes out, she is going to have been the one who directly connected with them repeatedly on multiple attempts. I think she channeled this, and that book actually might go in to be made to a movie.
Wow.
So when it comes out, y'all can say you heard it here first.
Oh yeah, well we have you. You'll be in the archives on the channel. Hey Jen, there are some other cases that we've aired here on Paranormal Zone TV, and one is really it's never been solved and it never will be. I think it's a cover-up. It's called the Ketty Murders, Cabin 28. A family there's a story to that, and that one, and oh gosh, guys, what was the other cases we've been doing? That one in particular is one that I really would like to have you come back, because there's just there's so much to that case. And the daughter, I've done many shows on it, and I've had Sheila, the daughter. There was a daughter and a son that weren't killed. And Sheila, I had her on. I got in touch with her in 2012, and I've done numerous shows with her. And she's like in hiding. She won't communicate. She doesn't want to talk about it. It's over. And I really have a question about that, because a psychic did a reading, and what she was picking up in her mind's eye. And she described this man, and he had a lumberjack type shirt on, and there was some other thing she had said about it. I have the recording, and then oh my God, when I went up to Ketty and I met up with Sheila and her then husband, and he was the guy that was on that, we're living in one of those cabins as well, and I believe, and she got pregnant by him, and they got married, and when I went to meet them, and I have a recording of him when I almost died. He had the exact same shirt on that the psychic had described, and it was said that he was standing out the door. He wasn't involved in the murder, but he was standing outside the door, keeping guard of this cabin. I gotta have you come back. We've got to do this show on the Ketty Resort murders, okay? And I know there's a couple of others, but this one in particular it's been driving me crazy since 2012.
That sounds really good, Norene. I definitely would be very. I want to help as much as I can with my abilities because my background's in law enforcement too. I feel like that's my God calling, right? Like to give back with my abilities. I help heal a lot of people, and I do a lot of different work as a spiritual healer and as a shaman too. But there's a cold case actually that happened on the other side of my farm. I would have been 12 years old when it happened. So, my dad died when I was 13. He was really sick when I was young. And there's a lot of law enforcement agencies that have brought that case to me, and they try to get me to read it. Now, this entity, this lady who was murdered, literally comes to me often. So I'm working with her to solve her murder. Dave and I have quite a crazy story about that. After I met him, it's like she figured out that she could get to me a lot better. And she actually came to an event that we had, and she came through the ghost box, and she validated things. And it literally, the way it works out, like maybe that will be a show in and of itself one time. We'll tell you about that. But it's pretty high profile.
Oh, hey, we can include that in one of our shows.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's pretty wild how it all happened.
Okay, we'll include that. Somebody mentioned the Day at Love Pass incident. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where 9 hikers were killed. And somebody said the scientists proved it was an avalanche, and it was not an avalanche. I've done several shows on that. And the last show I did was with the author of the book. And he actually went to that location, and he got a hold of all the documents that he could get a hold of. And it was not an avalanche. I can tell you that for a fact. So, oh my God, it's weird. It was a group in Russia. They were going to the Ural Mountains, and these Ural Mountains, the Indians in that location won't even go up there because there's a Yeti that hangs up out in that mountains, and it's the mountains you do not go there. And these hikers reached a certain area. They couldn't go any farther because there was a storming out there. They put their tent up that night. They didn't have their clothes on. They just had their underwear. They didn't even have shoes on. And when they and then they lost contact with these kids. I lost you. So they lost contact with them. But when they found them, they found the tent, and the tent had been sliced from the inside out, and they ran to escape. Now it was I think it was snowing that night. You could not see your hand in front of your face. How they scattered. Some of them ended up together. They may have gone together. One had tried to climb up a tree. They found one with his eyes gouged out. The other one had her tongue taken out. They were all found in different locations. And there's all kinds of stories. Now, I did have a man that wrote a book. He actually went to Russia. He looked at what documents they would allow him to see, and he said it was not an avalanche. But they don't know. I have to read.
An avalanche. I mean, I use a pendulum. This one of my little wonderful little kid friends who crafts. She made that for me. There's a crystal in there. I use any kind of thing that swings on a pendulum that I double check myself. Like when I get any kind of claircognizance or mediumship message in, I'm always constantly checking either this or with muscle testing, right? Because I like to cross-reference the information however it comes in, whether it's the empathic sense of feeling or I'm hearing it or I'm seeing it visually on my internal screen. So I'm constantly checking. So when you're asking me this, I'm just checking real time, and it's definitely not an avalanche. Definitely not.
Let's do a show on that, okay?
Okay.
Oh,
Let's do it.
Hey,
Do as many as you want.
hey, Jen, I'm going to keep you busy for the rest of your life, or the rest of my life.
Good girl. That's good. Anytime I can help you out and we can do some of this stuff. It's fun because for me too, it helps me perfect my abilities in my craft too, but it also helps us stretch our own understanding. There's so much more. There's all these different dimensional layers of reality. There's so much more to us all. We're all psychic. Psychic is the perception of energy, the extrasensory perception, right? So we all have those abilities. We just have to fine tune them. So I just happened to die 5 times and I really didn't have a choice. God said, let go or get dragged. And I was like, okay, 10-4, I will just do what you tell me. And, it's a top-down type of operation with me. That's my guiding source. He butters my bread. I say that all the time. And I want people to understand that they, too, can perceive things. That's why their hair is standing up on the back of their neck. That's why their belly hurts. So they have a bad taste in their mouth. I want people to start paying attention. Because Dave says all the time when he goes into a haunted location, he's like, I can tell you if it's happy, it's mad, it's sad. He's reading with his own body what happened in that house. And P.S., let me tell you this too. Most police officers, and I've worked with so many over the years, they literally are doing the same thing I'm doing. They just call it a different thing. They're investigating the scene, okay? Well, a lot of those investigations are based on gut feelings. And those gut feelings a lot of times pan out for a reason. It's really cool and very interesting.
Now, Jen, you said that you had you died 9 times. Now, 5 times. So, 5. So, so when you died, okay. So listen. When you died the first time, how were your abilities?
I would say I jokingly used to say I was a really good guesser, right? So I was born psychic. My mom's Native American. My dad laid hands. There was no way in the world I was getting out of this being normal, right? So when I was little, I was getting dunked to church all the time because I was like, hey, the devil's in the basement of the barn. I was like, oh my God, don't say things like that. And I'm like, well, he is. I saw him. And she's like, you cannot talk like this. And I'm like, well, my sister and I had telepathy when I was 4. I would just think about her, and whatever floor she was in our big farmhouse, she would hear me and she would come to wherever I needed her to be. So I was already a little bit off the charts as a young child, but the first near death was at 19. I had 22 feet of my intestine removed. I had Crohn's disease, they think. I kept passing out on the ambulance, so in addition to the patient we were going to help, I was the second patient. So a lot of times that was not good. But I was passing out because of the extreme amount of energy I was experiencing.
Oh my God. So by the time you died the 5th time, that's when everything blossomed.
Well, it started about the 3rd one. The 3rd one was in childbirth. And the 2nd one was a reaction to a medication. The 4th one was a reaction to a medication. The 3rd one and the 5th one, I was in the OR. And every single time I was under Western medicine that I had a near-death experience. I did not do good with medication. And I would tell the doctors this, and I would tell them, hey, I'm going to die if you do this. And they said, you're going to be fine. You're overreacting. You're, are neurotic. You're psychotic. They gave me all these labels. I'm like, listen, I'm kind of intuitive, and I don't think this is going to go well. And they always poo-pooed me, and it happened every single time I said it. Every time I said it. And in childbirth, I saw my son's soul going the wrong way. I saw him going left. And I worked really hard to get that little guy here because they said no babies. And I said, I'm having a baby. God told me so. And the doctor looked me right in the face and said, you will die. You have an internal colectomy. It will burst. You will die. And I said, well, then that would be my lot in life. I'll get him here, and then I'm leaving. And he said he was so smug, too, and so certain of himself. He goes, take your chances. You won't be able to enjoy that baby.
Oh, my God.
I take my 17-year-old Sherman tank of a son to see them, those doctors that were naysayers once in a while. I named him Adam. I thought that was fair. He's a miracle.
My God. Hey, I remember I started reading your book when you were 8. What about the kitten when you were 8?
Oh gosh, Lazarus. Oh, that's terrible. My family, like, I literally, this little black kitty, and my brother's, you know, we have a farm, so people drop cats there off all the time. Plus, we had a meat shop. So we fed the kitties. So we had lots of kitties, and they had babies. And my brother had this little puffy black kitty, right? And he said, don't play with that kitten. You can play with any other kitten out there. And of course, me being me, that's the kitten I want to play with. Well, it didn't want to cooperate, and I tried to make it a little bit of a bed out of gravel. Oh, it was so bad. So, swear to God, on everything that I hold holy, I tell on myself, I said, something happened to the cat. And my mom said, where is it? Then I threw it over the hill. And she's like, oh my God, Jennifer Lydia, you better pray to Jesus right now to forgive you. And I thought, I'm the most terrible person on the planet. I killed a kitty. The kitty's dead. I'm going to hell because, you know, we're a religious family. We go to church every Sunday. I'm going to hell. I killed something. And that's it. Well, Lazarus walked back up over the hill with a bent tail. Now, they say they have 9 lives. I don't know. I'm pretty sure the kitty came back to life. He was dead. He didn't move. He didn't move for hours and hours and hours and hours. My family called him Lazarus. He lived a really long life, too, by the way. He had a bent tail for years and years.
Aww.
But he was dead. He was really dead. And he came back to life. That's our Lazarus story, kitty.
You brought him back to life.
I listen, I've had some really miraculous things happen under my hands by the grace of God. Like, that's not me. I will never take credit for it. I'm never going to say it's me, because whatever animates my body that's where it's coming from. And sometimes I don't even know what to tell you, like what God is. It's like a giant nebulous cloud of energy, maybe. Maybe it's masculine, maybe it's feminine, maybe it's both. To me, it looks like a giant disco ball with 100 billion reflective plates of every being I've ever saw in my whole life. And I feel like that's what we are. That's what animates us. But I've had my leg broken and it healed in hours under my hands. I've seen Jesus so many times I could count the hairs in his face. I could tell you stories and stories. I've seen demons. I've been with demons, and they've ripped stuff off of me when I died the last time. I went down instead of up. I tell that story a lot. I went up on all the other ones. It was all rainbows and sunshines. No white lights, though. Never, ever a white light. Never.
Oh, really? So, okay, so when these people die, they say, oh, they see a tunnel, and a relative comes and greets them. What did you see?
So, the first time I died, I get like this overwhelming sense of like compassion and love and hope. It kind of overtakes me, and I'm like that for a really long time after I have a near-death experience. Like, I never forget it, right? The third time, I started seeing fractalized patterns and things. It literally, it just gets warm. I was in the OR that time, too. This is the most significant, because it's really cold in the OR. Anybody ever had surgery, you're freezing cold. Everything's bright white in there anyhow, because it's very clean and sterile, right? So I'm in this super cold room, and my son, finally, you know, he's going the wrong way. I tell him, go that way. He's born blue. He didn't breathe. I saw his little feet. I'm like, oh, God, I can't do this. I didn't get through all these months of pregnancy and all these problems to deliver a dead baby. Please, 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 please let him be okay. And I said, please, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. Just let him be okay. Because he's waving at me outside his body. Hey, Mom. I'm like, you're going the wrong way. You got to go that way. And I heard him cry. And when I heard him cry, I felt like, I just can't even describe it. It was like I hit the freaking lottery on like 12 different lifetimes. I was like, oh, thank God he got here. He really got here. And they were bringing him over to me, and I'm seeing his little mouth move, and he's born hungry. I tell everybody that, his little mouth's moving. And I just wanted to take a little rest. I just felt like I was so exhausted. I'm like, I'm just going to close my eyes a couple minutes. And I remember looking to the left, and I'm strapped down because I'm at very traditional C-section. It was really rough because I already had a colectomy, so they had to go back through my original scar. It was kind of traumatic, but it was worth it. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. But I looked at this clock and I said, oh man, I thought I had that baby at 3:30. And the anesthesiologist behind me, his name was Dr. Mike, he goes, you did, honey, at 3:41. I said, why does that clock say 5:30? And I heard him go, oh my God, that's her blood pressure. Her blood pressure is 53/35. And that was the last thing I remember.
Oh.
I just remembered laying backwards and almost like I was leaning kind of into something, and I just all of a sudden felt like I was on a cloud, and I was like resting there, and it got really warm, and I love being warm. I was like, oh, this feels so good. I'm so comfortable. I'm so relaxed. And I heard this really sweet older man's voice, and I don't know whose voice it was. My dad's been dead since I've been 13. It was not my dad, but it was a kind older man. And he's like, not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Really?
And this hand that like come out of the cloud and push me back this way, right? So you would think I'm laying on a bed and I'm feeling something push me this way, right?
Oh my
So when I
God.
open my eyes back up, my feet are in the air. I'm the other way. My head is down. I'm like, oh, this is not good. I was losing so much blood that they were trying to get blood to my heart.
Oh my God. Oh
So
my.
there's no way somebody could have been pushing me like this. The table was flipped upside down.
Oh
almost.
my God, Jen.
I was so like jumped up. That's all I was focused on, and I was still warm. But after that, I saw hearts everywhere. I can't stay mad at anybody very long. I can't, like, it even makes me a little bit choked up now, remembering what it felt like, because it's literally what heaven feels like to me. That's, like, everything's okay. Like, and I brought that back with me to this planet for a reason. And I didn't have 5 near-death experiences for no reason. I know there's a mission. I know there's a greater good. I know humanity is worth saving. I know this. And you know, I met Dave and I felt like I got the galactic upgrade. I'm like, what the hell? I wanted to say something. That was awesome, but I went a little bit more galactic after that. I'm like, geez. And you have to talk to alien beings now? Like, what the heck? But there's just so much more than we really can contemplate and understand with our. This is an 8-pound meat sack, and trust me, I love the brain. I lectured about it for 3 hours every Monday night at St. Vincent as professor. And I swear to you, we only use 10% of it. Like, there's so much more out there. There's so much more.
That's what they say.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I could talk about it all night.
By the way, her partner's Dave Spinks.
Yes. My wonderful life partner, my business partner. I don't want to gush too much, but yeah, he's pretty awesome.
I know, I love Dave.
Yeah.
Jen, somebody asked about, do we reincarnate?
I would say yes. You want to hear my short explanation of why?
Yes.
So, not only did I believe that before, I've had several facilities, right? Wellness facilities. I train therapists. I lecture at different colleges. I mean, I'm the multicolored unicorn, technicolored unicorn on the block. I went way past black sheep a long time ago in the traditional counseling arena. So children are brought to me often that have very unusual abilities or mental health issues, we'll say, right? Their parents are trying to rule them out without getting them medicated. And when they come to me, it's pretty interesting. They have some recall about their lives before they got here. So one time I had a nurse call me. I was busting off a bolt on Facebook about pandemic because I was like, listen, people, we got to calm down. You got to wash your hands. You got to be kind to one another. And we're going to have to ride this out. So everybody's going to have to calm down. Now, listen, I have a potty mouth. I worked in law enforcement for a long time. So I kind of was swearing on there a little bit and stuff. And this lady calls me and says, my son loves watching you on Facebook. And he said he remembers you and I need to bring him in to meet you. And I was like, oh, that's great. How old's your son? She's like 3. I'm like, do I know you guys? And she worked at the ER. So I was like, oh, maybe I saw you from the ambulance. She's like, I don't know you. You don't know me. I'm really sorry. This sounds weird. She said, he keeps telling me that the aliens are going to land in the front yard and not the backyard. And you need to know that. I'm like, oh my God, bring him in. Holy cow. Okay. So when he comes in, I've never met these people in my entire life. I call this little kid the prophet. He comes into my center. I've never met him. He comes running to me. He goes in the most sincere tone, I've missed you. And he just grabbed onto my leg and hugged me. And I thought, oh my God, whose soul's in there? Like, who is that? And why can't I remember him? Like, why can't I know who he is? I had no recall who he was. And he proceeded to tell me, I mean, right now, just like as soon as he got done hugging my leg, he was like, hey, remember me from last life? My daughter got on that big boat. She had blood in her mouth. I had a cane and glasses. Do you remember that? I mean, he didn't even miss a beat. Didn't even miss a beat. And I knew in that moment he was talking about the Titanic. My stomach dropped. I was just like, oh my God. And I looked at his mom. I mean, we're still in my lobby. We didn't even make it to my office yet. So I said, do you want to go back to my office? We can get out of the lobby here and talk about this. She's like, oh yeah. Now she was raised with like holistic healing, some herbalism, like I would say like cottage witches, right? Like she was raised on the mountain. She's a good egg. She's very open. Thank God she gave birth to a prophet. I'm glad she's open because the stuff that come out of that kid's mouth when we shut that door, he got the name the prophet, honestly, because he just told me told me about my mom who had died. She's waiting on me in the angel ship, and she's going to see me when I'm done. He said we had 10 lifetimes together. I was his doctor. He said, I know how to fix him. And they have brought him to me clinically when there was a medical emergency. I was like, oh my God, he should not be here. But I did Reiki on him. And they brought him in like a limp little noodle. And I'm like, you're a nurse. Probably should be at the ER. She's like, no, he wanted to come here. Something's wrong with his ear. And energetically in his little ear, I could see like a purple bread tie looking thing that wasn't supposed to be in there. So I pulled it out. He jumped right off that table. 4 people saw him, watched this all happen. And he ran around like nothing happened. They brought him in. He was lethargic and limp.
Oh my God.
It's pretty wild.
Wow.
We are coming off a filming project, and we have to wrap up a little bit. Dave's giving me the time.
Dave, knock it off, Dave. Tell him to knock it off. The viewers love you. They want more of you. Jenny, they love you. They want more of you. They're so happy that you came on the show. And you're going to be very busy, Jenny.
That's okay. I'm here for it. I'm here for humanity. And I love you guys all too. Thank you for having me, Norene. It was awesome.
Thank you.
I will be on as many times as you want me to be.
Oh, yeah, but you're going to be very busy, I know. And I'm so happy for you and Dave. Okay, bye, Dave. I know you're there. Bye, honey. Bye, honey. Thanks, Jenny. Love you. Thanks. Bye. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Oh, my God. Okay, so I'm really happy that I introduced Jen. She's been wanting to come on the show, and I'm really happy about that. And I do have some cases I'm just chomping at the bit to do. So everybody, thanks so much for joining me tonight. And I didn't expect so many people. There's so many people watching the show. I didn't expect it. It's Saturday and people are going Christmas shopping, and it's so nice that you're here. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to my show, would you please subscribe? I'd really appreciate it. I'd really like to get my subscriptions up. And this way too, when I go live, I could go live anytime. Sometimes I don't know when I'm going to go live at the last minute, and then you'll get notified that I'm going live. If you want to email me with any requests, you can email me at paranormalzonetv@gmail.com. And I like to do cases that are well known, and especially when they're unsolved, when nobody can solve them. And she brought up some stuff I never even thought of. Who would have thought about some of this stuff? We'll have to see what happens. Anyway, okay, so I have a show on Thursday. It's not showing now. Okay, never mind. I got a show on Thursday. It's with Archbishop Ron Thale. He wrote a book on exorcisms, and it's called Diabolic Nightmare. And he's going to talk about these horrific exorcism cases that he's been involved in. And he wrote a book on them. And then I have Bill Bean coming in January. I'm going to have Paul Eno. I want to talk about the Bridgeport triangle. And I'll have Jen come back in January as well. They're really busy. They got a lot going on. So everybody, thank you so much. And let's see, should I do some shout outs? Who's left? I know Tallcross, my buddy from Scotland, was in. I don't know what time it is for him, but I'm really happy to see him there. All right, let's do some shout outs. Oh, my mods are in. Renee and Chippa love you girls. Love you so much. You're always here. Oh my goodness. And no, Tallcross, I have one more show. And I might do a Saturday show. You know, Marcia, who does tarot cards, she wants to come back on the show. And I like to do probably Sundays with her because it doesn't interfere with my week. Because anyway, I'll do Sunday shows with her. Those are extra shows. Anyway, okay, so let me do some shout outs. Tallcross, Chippa love you. Nicole Johnson, Richard Dennison, Linda Richardson. Thanks for coming on. You guys, I haven't seen you before. Thank you. If you like the show, would you please subscribe? Renee, love you, honey. Let's see. Tallcross. Sarah Claire. Anybody else want to shout out? Christopher. Oh, there you are, Christopher. I haven't seen you the last two shows. Where have you been? I see you today. Heather Durman, Lori Miller, Cat 51, 2G. Yeah, she does a pretty good job because she also has some psychic abilities. Nebet Seta. I don't see you all the time either, but glad to see you. Sheila Pelican. Sheila, I don't remember seeing you in the show before, but thank you for coming. Anybody else want to shout out? Oh, thanks, Richard. I knew. And Sheila Pelican, please subscribe. I haven't seen you for. And Kat, I haven't seen you before either. Cat 51, will you please subscribe? Drew. Hi, Drew, my buddy. Drew, True Crime and Missing People on YouTube. Oh my God, Drew, I got to bring you back on a show. Drew, we got to do a show together. Okay, we got to do something together. Okay, I love Drew. B3 Airspace, haven't seen you for a while, honey. JD Bamber, okay, nice to see you. Haven't seen you for a while either. I'm so glad you guys joined us tonight. It was really a good show. I love Jen, and I'm just really excited to have her on. And you guys, I really appreciate you coming. Yeah, Bill's coming back next year. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And watching us. I am Alpha. Who Alpha? Who do I have to get on the show? Oh, Drew. Oh, yeah. Heather Durman. Hi, honey. Haven't seen you for a while. And I know you've been subscribed for. I remember your name. You guys, you think I don't see who's in the chat room, but I can't always respond when I have a guest. But I see who's in the chat room. Sheila, I haven't seen you in the chat room, though. Thank you. Yes, Drew, I knew you meant Drew. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. Jim's on the Hornet tonight. They have a live event that he has to take care of on the USS Hornet. And so I'm going to go watch some Christmas movies and have a cup of green tea. So everybody, thank you. Thank you to my mods, Chippa and Renee. Thank you so much. I love you girls. And again, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you all have a great week. And I'll see you on Thursday. Come, Lori Miller. Hi, honey. All right, join me Thursday night, huh? It'll be at 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern. And I will see you then. Thank you. Oh, Chris, really? Oh, that's too bad. Ooh. All right, I'll see you guys Thursday night. Okay, love you guys. Thank you. Oh, Deneen, too fabulous. Thank you. All right, guys, I'm going to go now. See you Thursday night, okay? Love you. Have a great week. Be safe. Thank you. Good night.